In this episode of Detroit Performs, a community artist explains the craft. A non-profit organization repurposes an old police station to provide space for artists. And the art of contemporary dance in one community. It's all ahead on this edition of Detroit Performs.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs and the National Endowment for the Arts, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Detroit Performs. I'm your host, DJ Oliver, and today I'm at a cultural gem in the Metro Detroit community, the Northville Art House, which hosts shows that feature prominent Detroit area artists. They also hold classes where talented teachers instruct people of all ages in the arts. Our first segment illustrates the unique experience that is community arts. Petra Kuppers is a performance artist and disability culture activist who thrives in community art.
Getting ourselves all up and running and playing a little bit with levels. So see if you can reach high up.
Art is a transformation of the everyday into something else, and it's so much richer to me when it's in dialogue and in contact with other artists. I was born an artist. I think everybody I know was born as an artist. I don't think there's any people who wasn't born as an artist. Some of us get it worked out of us, but all of us have great creative potential. When I wanted to train as an artist, as a professional artist, I wanted to be a choreographer. But I was disabled. I didn't have 4 sound limbs. I couldn't get a doctor to write me a certificate saying I had 4 sound limbs. And without that certificate, I couldn't even apply to dance school. I wanted to go to a particular German dance school, and there was no way to get in. So from very early on, I knew that I had to find my own path. I was born in Germany. I grew up there in a very tiny village, and I left when I was 24 years old. I moved to the US because of the American with Disabilities Act, because this is one of the very few places in the world that would give someone like me the opportunity to have a rich professional life. So I can be an artist, a dance artist, and a professor. Here, I would not be able to do that in the country I was born in. I do believe that dance is for everybody, and I do think that dance is about celebrating our bodies and our body minds. So for me, that meant that I was always attracted to the differences of people moving.
And right now, just start walking. Walking. We're just walking amongst ourselves. Just explore the feeling of the beautiful Mali beneath your feet.
I'm a choreographer who believes in the power of difference and in the power of communal activity. I often work with people who have very limited mobility, and I do not expect or assume that people who come through the door and who want to work with me have a lot of mobility.
And you move at whichever speed is right for you, what's good for your balance, what's good for your way of feeling safe in this space.
But what we're training ourselves instead is to think about presence. That is the core of my choreography now, enabling people to be present, to find a time to stop in the flow of everyday movement and to just step into themselves in that moment.
And then, once you've explored edges, textures, meetings of skin and building, find yourself a refuge in this space. And involve yourself with it in your whole body. Find a place to be in this building.
What inspires my art is a love of people, a love of the beauty of people finding themselves and taking a moment out of the everyday, engaging in artful behaviors together. Hold on to some of the images that you just heard. Your own line, another line, and we're going to create a form of social sculpture together. The Olympias is an artist collective, so all of us work together. Stephanie Height, my collaborator, and myself run an asylum project workshop. The asylum project emerged out of an inquiry about institutions and about spaces of sanctuary and safety and violence.
Right? We're just running workshops in very different sites, always with some kind of leaning into the sites that we're in and exploring what asylum means to us. As a community artist, you make peace with the fact that you have no idea what's going to happen in the room. You just hold the space in the room. And people will bring to the space and take from the space what they need at that point. Some people might need some deep creative engagement and might write something or find a way of moving in their body that can be really satisfying, and that might be the root of something that they then take on and work with more in their life. But quite a few people will really just come and just take that little bubble in everyday space and just hang out. And that seems so important to me. Normally in Olympia's actions, there isn't really an audience position. We don't have an auditorium where people can watch us. You kind of step into it and you do it. And all of us have experiences of disability, if not in our own bodies, then in the bodies of loved ones. You know, there really is nobody who's not touched by disability in some way or the other. So exploring how our differences can be enriching is useful to everybody. We find when we do this in many different places, different countries, sometimes with school groups, sometimes in community settings, that people bring very different meanings to terms like asylum, sanctuary, refuge, some negative meanings, some positive meanings.
I still see myself predominantly as a dance artist, but I've always been attracted to poetry as a modality that I could engage in when I was in a lot of pain, when I couldn't do the full-out movement work. I could be at home, I could be with words. I enjoy what happens when words and bodies slide by one another. I enjoy the openings that happen when words blossom up, when something new happens with words. And that's for me at the heart of poetry.
The moss green sweater, the navel, an opening into a new world.
My partner now, Stephanie, is also a poet, so we write together and we use poetry as a modality to explore our ways of being in the world. My latest book is called Pearl Stitch. The cover photo shows a woman sticking out her tongue, and the tongue is covered with a lace stocking. I'm citing many women in this work, and I play with the conventions and the forms that come out of that heritage. I think performing poetry is a good entry back into community. So there's something about the privacy of the page, working with the page, oftentimes transforming communal experience into private language. And when you perform it, and it just opens right up again. It's wonderful to perform poetry live, either in a slam environment or in a single poetry reading. Either of those forms, I think, are really rich ways of connecting people to the fact that words can mean otherwise. You know, the world can be otherwise. We don't have to live in the world that we're in. We can envisage things anew, and words help us to do that.
And just let's close with a song. And this is a song without words. This is a song reaching into the vibrations of the space.
I'm so happy to be an artist. It's nothing better than being an artist. I love being in connection with other people. I love being engaged in a transformation of this world. As a disability artist, I have seen how the world can change.
You can learn more about Petra Kuppers on DetroitPerforms.org. Over the past 10 years, Hatch Art has provided its artists with studios, displayed their pieces, and provided workshops for the community. The building is a former police station that was sold to Hatch for $1. Let's check it out.
Back in 2006, the city manager approached me and challenged me and said, if you can organize artists, I'll help you get a building. And so that's when Hatch actually formed. I got a group of dedicated artists that were living in Hamtramck, about 12 in all or so, and we started hosting events, showing artwork, and kind of supporting each other. And after a couple years of doing that, the city followed through on their promise, and helped us find a building. We actually shopped around to several buildings in town, and we ended up landing on this one, which was Hamtramck's old police station. These are all bullet holes. A prisoner had actually managed to grab a gun off of one of the cops and started firing. And this is the result. You can see some of these actual holes right here. Some of these they cut out as evidence in a trial. So Hatch does a lot of things. We have 11 studios on our second floor, fully occupied with artists. We have a workshop where we offer a kiln, woodworking tools, printing press, and a variety of other things. We have a series of workshops that people can come and take, whether they're fellow artists or they're members of the community. So there is a pattern to these, and that I wanted to point that out to you because that's why these numbers are significant. Now, what they mean is that when you go from F2 to 2.8, not F2 to 4, but F2 to 2.8, you are actually cutting your light, you're cutting your exposure in half. We offer about 1,000 square feet of gallery space for local artists to show their work. And we also have a Hatch Art lending library where people can borrow art just like they can borrow a library book.
The piece behind me by Sean Haggis is titled 4 Years, 11 Months, and 12 Days. And he spent about $12,000 on it, so that's how much it cost. The exhibit, How to Quit Smoking and Like It, is just part of an example of what fun we have here. Hatch is really welcoming. We want you to be here. We want to talk to you. We want to know what you do. We want to find out about you. We want you to come and do a workshop. We want you to never have done art before and be here. You know, that's a big thing that we love. We love that people down the street come here and they're from China and they don't speak English and they're cool and they point at everything and we try to talk and it's great. We have kids running outside collecting books for our little library that's outside. There's so many good things that we do for the community, but also the community does a lot for us.
Just this last month, we have had several workshops on felting, on figure drawing, charcoal drawing, monoprints, photography, etc. And they're all very inexpensive workshops done by local artists, and they draw people from the whole metro area. The art scene in Hamtramck is very eclectic, it's very energetic, and it's very unpredictable. Things are popping up all over the place. Real creative ideas that you've never seen before. Because Hamtramck is dense and because it's low cost, people can take risks and really kind of go for it. Go for these crazy ideas that they've been dreaming of for a while. When we started, Hamtramck really didn't have many formal galleries. Actually, I don't know if they had any formal galleries at the time. There were informal spaces like at a coffee house, but there wasn't really a full-time gallery. So there were a lot of artists living in the area, and there wasn't really any place for them to congregate. Now, there's 6 galleries and several other art spaces in the area. There's studio buildings and there's pop-up spaces happening all the time. So there's a lot of artistic stuff going on in Hamtramck right now. In fact, it's gotten to the point where there really isn't time to do everything on the weekends. You have to pick and choose. You know, you hear a lot of people talk about, you know, they get out of school and suddenly they don't have that network anymore. And artists really need each other to feed off each other, to get ideas, to motivate each other, that sort of thing. So that was our original intent, just to push ourselves to see what we could accomplish as a group that is greater than what we could accomplish on our own.
You can learn more about Hatch Art and all the artists we feature here today on DetroitPerforms.org. Now let's check out some upcoming events happening in and around the D.
To discover more events in Greater Detroit, visit ixity.com.
Up next, we meet Bernard Gaddis, who is taking the Las Vegas dance scene by storm as the founder of the Las Vegas Contemporary Dance Theater. We check out his journey and find out what dance means to him.
Alice Down the Rabbit Hole is one of those old-time grim fairy tales. It was something that was required in my high school. We were to read Alice in Wonderland. It was about this young girl who thought out of the box and didn't put herself in what society thought she should do. So that's what piqued my interest. My name is Bernard H. Gaddis, and I'm the founder and artistic director for the Las Vegas Contemporary Dance Theater. I founded the company in 2007, along with Charmaine Hunter, who was the principal ballerina with Dance Theater of Harlem. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised, and then moved to New York City after joining the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I remember sitting at home as a kid watching a PBS special, and I saw 7 men go across the stage and they were dancing. I had no idea that it was dancers from Alvin Ailey because I had never heard of Alvin Ailey before. But that image stayed with me and it kind of led me to dance. And then years later, I joined the Ailey Company when I was 21. And actually had the chance to do that same ballet that I saw on PBS when I was a kid. People say I found dance, but dance really found me. And it was just something that I was comfortable with. So I came to Las Vegas and I joined the cast of Cirque. Charmaine Hunter was here in Vegas. She asked me to start a company, and I started the Las Vegas Contemporary Dance Theater. What contemporary dance means, or definition, was the meld of classical ballet with the aesthetic of modern dance and with the energy that modern dance has, and that's contemporary. There are so many different types of contemporary dance companies. With Alvin Ailey, it's a repertory company, and it's the same as mine, the Las Vegas Contemporary Dance Theater. So we do the works of many different choreographers. So you would be able to come to the theater and see not only classical ballet, but modern ballets, and also jazz, and even a little bit of musical theater. So there is something for everyone in contemporary dance. My company is considered a very dramatic company, and it's because we like to send people through an emotional roller coaster. We like to have them feel joy and anger and sadness and love, lust. We should be able to move you without saying a word, to reach you and who you are as a human when we're dancing. So we should be able to connect with what it is that we're doing on stage and what it is that you're feeling, and making sure that that connection is honest and true. I always start with being pure to what the character is. So let's say if it's the White Rabbit, I'll watch how they move and their mannerisms and what it is that they do as rabbits. And then from there, I go from layer to layer to layer. So from here you go arabesque, soutenu. And then I will go into choreographing and doing movement that a human would do, and then maybe add what a rabbit would do as a twitch. Let's tie that in again from there. As far as what drives me to choreograph ballets, they come from various places, really. Some come from my dancers. Sometimes a ballet will pop in my mind. I'll see a dancer move, or a dancer will inspire me. A culture, even movies, and history. So my inspiration to choreograph comes from various places, but life. I believe that it's important for a community to have a contemporary dance company because contemporary dance, or all dance, is an extension of the community. The arts and culture is an extension of who we are as a community and who we are as a human race. You can't find any race or culture that does not dance, that does not sing, or does not move, or does not have rituals. So the arts is who we are as human beings. And it also defines what a city is, the heartbeat of a city. I dream big, and I try to take those dreams and make them a reality. I wake up every morning excited about working with a group of human beings that understand and value what dance is. And that's the most rewarding part for me. And to see them grow and to achieve what it is that they set out to do. I want Las Vegas to be proud of this company, and I want them to take ownership of this company. I definitely want to give the opportunity to my dancers who believe in what it is that I do, the opportunity to have the life that I was able to be blessed with.
You can learn more about Bernard Gaddis on the Detroit Performs website. And that wraps it up for this edition of Detroit Performs. As always, for more arts and culture, head to DetroitPerforms.org, where you'll find featured videos, blogs, and information on upcoming arts events. Also, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We'd like to thank the Northville Art House for letting us take a tour of this small treasure trove of art. Until next Tuesday, get out there and show the world how Detroit performs, y'all. I'm DJ Oliver. Thanks for watching, guys.
Funding for Detroit Performs is provided by the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs and the National Endowment for the Arts, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.